to Alberta Impact Business. I'm your host, Bryce Lambert. Over the years, there's been a lot of push for sustainable and clean energy. Some may think it's a slow-going trend, but did you know that across the world, over 70 counties, cities, and towns are currently 100% powered by clean energy? Now again, that stat is international, so let's bring this topic home to see what companies here are doing, which is making an impact both locally and globally. Joining me tonight from WATT Renewables is Charisse Alexander. Charisse, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bryce. Thanks for having me here today.
Absolutely. So give us a little history and run us through how WATT came to be.
Sure. So WATT was created a few years ago. We're a sustainable energy or sustainable development company in the renewable energy space. Back then when we started, we had focused mostly on what we were doing here in Alberta, and that was during the time, of course, of the NDP government. So they had quite a few programs out there that actually supported exactly what we were doing. Specifically, there was a program called the Climate Leadership Program, and the purpose of that program actually was to go into rural and remote communities and assist in developing a plan and executing that plan to maybe retrofit some of their older buildings so that they would be more environmentally friendly, and in addition to that, designing buildings and such that would be brand new and, of course, being environmentally friendly. So that was probably about 3-4 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you guys have expanded like drastically since then. Can you tell us a little bit about the expansion?
Yeah, so what we did from there is we really took what we're doing and we went global with it very quickly.
Yeah.
We stumbled upon an industry, of course, the telecommunications industry and the financial sector, and specifically located in Nigeria. So, as many people are very aware, Nigeria, even though it is an economic powerhouse on the continent of Africa, energy continues to be a real serious challenge there, with a population of almost 200 million people. Providing energy in a sustainable, economically viable, and accessible manner is increasingly difficult. So our solution, there's lots of talk always in these types of communities about mini grids and microgrids. The problem with mini grids and microgrids is that it's not viable when you're just going to the community and the individuals within those communities. What you need is a commercial off-taker, one that is credible, that is going to be reliable and pay the bill. So we found a group of companies, or a couple of companies, that are willing to partner with us so that we can provide energy to their cell phone towers, and from there we will create mini grids off of those cell phone towers so we can provide energy in those communities. So
really cool.
We're super excited about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And you guys have had some major undertakings, like you got 12 megawatts of design and install capacity already, 17 projects locations all around the globe, and 52 projects commissioned globally.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a huge undertaking. You've got your offices in Africa, and is it just in Nigeria or spread across?
It's currently, we've got a couple of offices in Nigeria. Alberta is home.
Right.
And we are definitely looking to expand within the industries I just lined out, throughout West Africa and see where we can go from there. Yeah.
And so what was the big reason for the push from Alberta, originally from back in the day?
Yep.
What was the reason for the push to go into this kind of sector here in Alberta? I know you talk about the development projects that were presented, but you're also talking about the UN Sustainable Development Goals.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of that stuff?
For sure. The push here in Alberta is, realistically speaking, there are a lot of programs and there's a lot of support here in the province that people probably aren't aware of. There's Tech Edmonton, who is great for startups and helping you refine what you're working on. Alberta Innovates, another really fantastic group of people that are really there to partner with people and help, refine what you're working on, help you get it out to market. Can Export, they've been fantastic as well, especially in the expansion piece. There's also another program, and I'm not really sure where it is right now, but Alberta Expansion. Okay. Which is about Alberta businesses and how do we get your product or your service out to market. So there's tons of stuff here in the province that really support small companies that are really trying to make a difference in terms of clean tech, green technology, that sort of thing. So from there, it was really easy once you've got that support in order to really just get the traction and get out there and do what you're looking to do. So,
That's great to hear that there is that much support here. And off camera, we were talking a little bit about some of the projects that are coming that are huge and beautiful and an amazing achievement when it comes to renewable energy sources like the Blatchford project and whatnot. So that's super cool to see that that's coming out of here. So what about the future? Like, what's the future kind of holding for you guys? And how do you see the sustainable energy and renewable resources pushing forward from your guys' perspective and narrative?
For us, it's really about, again, going into these communities. And I mean, I don't think that people quite understand that it's really a lot of buy-in. You know, you talk about sustainable development goals and how those really tie in. Well, you know, the green energy is a very clear, obvious one. But aside from that, you know, realistically speaking, coming from Alberta and what is a very privileged environment, when you go into these communities and you see the impact that having power or not having power really has, and the economic sustainability that comes from having those things. I mean, for us, it's really about getting into the communities, providing, of course, first a great off-taker, and then making sure that we can help other small businesses within those communities, you know, grow and develop and help their families and those communities as well. So for us, we just want to start where we are, which is in Nigeria, and see where else we can take it throughout West Africa. I mean, there's tons of opportunity throughout the continent of Africa. And I mean, that's really where our focus is at this point in time and what we can do with that. And we're happy that Alberta's home for that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So I just want to touch base a little bit more on some of the solutions. So you talked about like the microgrids and like some of the larger grid systems. What are some of the other solutions that are out there that you guys are offering?
So for us, when we talk about microgrid and mini grid, that's so that we can make sure that we get into the other communities as well. We're currently looking at, it's probably a big project and a big undertaking, but that is going to be really about data centers and service centers as well. So really commercially minded, because really it's the commercial off-taker that helps create the other opportunities within the communities. I'm trying to think of what else we're doing out there.
Well, I mean, those are big things right there. Like, I mean, being that commercial hub and being reliable, like you said, is a really big deal, especially, like you said, in spaces where power isn't as accessible. I mean, we've traveled a lot through Africa ourselves in the past, and I know there's, you know, you can get those dropouts and whatnot, and we go through Ethiopia and stuff like that, and it's pretty interesting to see how they sustain and how they keep going. So it's nice to see that Alberta is being a big part of trying to make that more sustainable, more livable, feasible, and accessible. So that's super huge.
Especially seeing the narrative that generally comes out of Alberta. It's nice to be involved in something that's extremely positive for our community and as well the world's community as a whole.
Yeah, and speaking to that narrative, how has been the, I guess, response to what you guys are doing? And I mean, you're getting a lot of support. Is there anything else that you could see that we need to develop as a province to push out there to help you guys push, you know, your guys' objectives and your guys' goals? I
mean, realistically speaking, I think that it's more buy-in, more talking about it, right? More conversations around it. And that's why, personally myself, I'm really excited about Blatchford, because what makes that project really unique is the idea that it can't work, right? That's what people say. When you do start to talk to people who are in oil and gas and diversification of our economy and what we can do that's different and forward thinking, often you're rebuffed with, well, it's not going to work. I think Blatchford is an opportunity for people to see it can work. You can have the lifestyle that you're used to. Yes, it'll probably come at a little bit more of an elevated price, but what's the future worth to you, right? Realistically speaking, it can't any longer be about right now in the moment. There has to be some thought process in terms of legacy and what comes down the road. So things like that and the success of projects like that only help our cause.
For sure.
And other companies as well that are in the same position.
Definitely. Well, and it's good to see that adoption of, you know, the need for it, and the adoption of the recognition for the need for it, and that it's going to be carrying forward. So that's super fantastic to see, and I'm glad that that's happening right out of here in Alberta, and then with organizations like yourself having the ability to share that with the rest of the world is super huge and super exciting to see.
Yeah, we're excited.
Super. Thank you so much, Therese, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And giving us this kind of insight into WATT and what you guys are doing. And again, another example of an Alberta organization that's reaching out, not only affecting Alberta and Canada, but the rest of the world. So that's super fantastic to
We're
see.
super excited. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So there you have it. Thank you for watching. So join me for more on Alberta Impact next Thursday at 7 p.m. on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
What that's called?